In this video we are going to create the two last debuffs, and that's the frost debuff and the storm debuff. So let's start with the frost debuff by going to the scripts folder, opening debuffs and clicking on frost debuff. And I'm just going to take the script on the screen here. And the frost debuff is going to slow down the target. So first of all, we need to make a private float called slowing factor. So this one can actually be upgraded through the towers so that the slowing factor can be higher so the monster moves slower. And then we need to make a bool called applied. So the reason that we need this bool here is that we only want to slow the monster with a specific amount. If we keep doing this, if we keep adding slowing debuffs to the monster, then it will stand still instead of moving slower. And I just noticed this is the storm debuff. I'm going to cut this and move it into the frost debuff instead. There we go. Okay, so in the constructor, it needs a target. It needs a slowing factor, and it needs a duration. And the duration needs to be passed on to the superclass. So we can just write duration here. And yeah, it has a target and a duration. Inside the constructor, we will have to say this dot slowing factor equals slowing factor. The update function for this this debuff needs to be overridden. And in here we have to say if our target isn't null, just as we did the other places. Well, if our target is null and if it's not applied, then we have to say applied to true. And then we have to say target.speed. Yeah, okay, of course we don't have the speed here. So we need to go to our target, which is our monster. And we have to find the speed variable, which is here and it's private. And we need to make it serialized so we can set it and get it. So what I just did was that I created this property here. And as usual, you can write this yourself or you can right click on it. And then we have to say target.speed equals or minus equals target dot, and the target needs a max speed. So for us to be able to reduce the what is it called, the speed with a factor, we'll have to know what the max speed was, right? So we actually need to go to our monster again, and in here we make a, let's just do it under the speed, or we have the properties down here. So let's do it here. Make a property which is a float called max speed. So this max speed is going to be the target's or the monster's maximum speed, and we needed to set the speed back to the original speed when it's done being slowed. So basically in a wake here we say max speed equals speed. So now we know what the max speed was. So we go to the frost debuff, and then we say target dot max speed, because now we can access that max speed, which means that we can actually say target dot max speed multiplied by slowing factor divided by 100. So we reduce the speed with the max speed multiplied with the slowing factor and divided by 100. Okay, so the slowing factor is actually a percentage of how much we need to slow down the current speed, right? So that's it for the update. When the debuff is removed from the target, we have to set the speed back to normal. So we can go down here and say public override remove to override the remove function. So the remove function is called on all debuffs when they're removed from the target. And now we are going to write our own specific remove debuff from remove function for the frost debuff, because the frost debuff needs to do something else than the fire debuff, for example, when it's removed. So it's called target dot speed equals target dot max speed. So the frost debuff is removed and we need to reset the speed. When we have written this code, we need to go to the frost tower. So let's find that. And in here we have to write something in the get debuff. First of all, we need to make a private float called slowing factor. And we need to serialize this field. And then we need to be able to get the slowing factor. So just create a get for it, or a property for getting the slowing factor so we can access it and see what it is. At least I think we are going to need it. And what else? We're going to change the debuff here. We're going to say slowing factor, comma duration. It's called debuff duration or something. There we go. And target. And that's basically what we needed to do for the frost debuff right now. And I'm actually not even sure that we're going to use this. Sorry about that, just delete it for now. Sorry, I changed my mind. We can always create it if we need it, but I don't think I'm going to use it. So now that we have this, we can jump back into Unity. Inside Unity, we need to go to prefabs and go to towers, and then select the frost tower and select the range. Okay. So in here we need to set up some things. For now, well, we can actually just leave everything as it is except the slowing factor here. So the slowing factor is how many % we need to slow down the movement. And let's try to do it with 50%, so the monster will have half speed. And let's try to run the game and see how it actually looks. Let's just maximize this and hope that we don't get a blue monster. Of course we got a blue monster. Let's try one more time. And let's see when it gets hit, it should slow down. Yeah, now you can see it's slowed down, it's not moving as fast. And then that dropped off so it can move fast again. So now we have a frost debuff that actually works. So we have a lot of times we can also create the storm debuff. So the storm debuff is going to stun the target, and by stunning it actually just sets the speed to 0 so the monster can't move in some seconds when it's affected by the debuff. And in that case it's actually just a very simple version of the slowing debuff, which is the frost debuff. So basically we just need to go here inside the storm debuff script and say float duration. To create a duration and pass it on to the superclass. And then we simply say if target is null. So if we have a target, we say target that speed equals 0. So now it simply just told the monster to have 0 speed, so it can't move. And after a while, the debuff will drop off. So we override remove. And in here, we simply say if target is null, well, then our target.speed is equal to target.max speed. And then we call remove after. So now we have actually just created our storm debuff. So if we click on the error list here, you'll see that it shows an error here in the get debuff. So we need to say target, comma, debuff duration. Now we just changed the constructor here to take 2 parameters and we didn't give in that extra parameter. So let's actually just go to Unity, and if we select the storm tower here, see we have a proc and we have a duration here, and it's just 1 second. Let's see if it actually just stuns the target for 1 second now. If it hits the target, there we go, it stuns it for 1 second and moves again, and there. So that's actually it. We just added the last debuff, so now we have all the debuffs added to the game. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it. Remember that this page here is actually community founded, so all your support actually helps me out a lot. You can support me in different ways, and you can click the link on the screen right here to see how you can support me. And of course, you will get something back if you support me. You can get any of my projects or all my projects if you support me, depending on how you choose to support me. So thank you very much for watching.